Welcome, friends. I'm Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. And welcome to Chakra Yoga. Today, we're going to be working on root chakra, Muladhara. And the format that we're going to use is yin yang yoga. So, what you can expect is about 35 minutes of a flowing vinyasa sequence. And then the last 25 minutes will include yin poses, so long, deep passive holds followed by Shavasana. What I think you'll need to be safe, to enjoy, and to get the most out of your practice are a sticky yoga mat, something where you're going to get some frictional resistance, two foam or cork yoga blocks, perhaps a blanket. I'm not going to be cueing for anything where you'll have a really specific need for a blanket, but I think it's a really nice tool to have for yin and a yoga bolster. Now, if you don't have a yoga bolster, a nice surrogate for a bolster that I'm sure you have in your home is a cushion from a couch. You want something that's going to give you some resistance. So pause your recording, roll out your mat, gather up your props, and when you're ready, press play, and I'll meet you on your mat for Yin Yang Chakra Yoga. All right, friends, we're going to start with some seated work. So come into a really stable seat. So for me, that means elevating my hips so the pelvis tilts forward. So I'm going to sit on a bolster. Stack your joints, float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. And then on your next inhale, take a deep breath through your nose, press into your seat, lengthen along your whole spinal column. Feel the crown of your head lift up toward the stars. Maintain that length in your spine. Exhale through your mouth, make a ha sound. All right, one more time. Take a deep, deep inhale through your nose. Exhale, open your mouth, let that all go. All right, we're going to start with some pelvic floor work. So I'd like you to visualize the front and back of your pelvic floor. And this first thing that we're going to do, it's going to be a four-part movement, and I'll cue you for an inhale. Draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. So the muscular engagement required to do that, it feels like stopping the flow of urine. And you might visualize a bean in the center of your underpants. When you draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together, visualize picking that bean up, and then I'll cue you for an exhale, release your pelvic floor. We're going to do that 5 times. So exhale out all your breath. And then on an inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, release your pelvic floor. Inhale, pick up that bean. Exhale, release the bean. Set the bean back down. Inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, release your pelvic floor. Inhale, pick up that bean. Exhale, set the bean back down. And then one more time, inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, release your pelvic floor, relax. So we're going to build on that. The next build on that is going to be a 4-count movement. That it will start the same. On an inhale, I'll cue you to draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. And then I cue you to exhale, visualize lifting your pelvic floor up to your sternum. I know you literally cannot do that, but lift up as if you could. I'll cue you for an inhale to release your pelvic floor. Exhale, relax. We'll do that 4-count movement 5 times. So exhale all your breath. Inhale, draw the front and back of your pelvic floor together. Exhale, lift your pelvic floor up as if you could touch your sternum. Inhale, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, relax. Inhale, pick up that bean. Exhale, lift the bean up to your sternum. Inhale, set the bean back down. Exhale, relax. That's it. You're doing great. Inhale, front and back, your pelvic floor. Draw together. Exhale, lift it up to your sternum. Inhale, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, relax. We're going to try to go big this time. On an inhale, pick up that bean. Exhale, lift the bean up to the base of your throat as if you could. Inhale, set the bean back down. Exhale, relax. Inhale, draw the front and back, your pelvic floor together. Exhale, lift it up to your mouth. Inhale, release your pelvic floor. Exhale, relax. If you haven't done so already, shift into your Ujjayi breath. And then on your next inhale, sweep your arms along your side up over your head. Exhale, slice your hands down into heart center. Maybe thumbs touching your sternum. Shift a soft gaze to the tips of your fingers and set an intention for your practice for this morning. On an inhale, sweep your arms up over your head. Exhale, release your left hand down by your hip, right hand down by your right knee. On an inhale, lengthen from your tailbone to the crown of your head. Exhale, rotate your heart to the left and your hips back to the right. Inhale, maybe lengthen along the spine more. Exhale, maybe add more twist, but if you twist your heart more to the left, twist your hips back more to the right. Inhale. Exhale, release your twist, come back to center. We're going to go into animal. Take your left hand down to the mat or to a block in line with your left thigh. Place the webbing between your right thumb and right index finger into your right hip crease. Fold down over that left thigh first. And then on an inhale with relaxed arms, open your heart up to the right. Exhale, fold your torso down over your left thigh. As you do so, pull the heel of your left hand back toward your left knee. Press your right hand back into that right hip crease. Inhale, relax your arms, open your heart up to the right. Exhale, fold over that left thigh, engage both arms, spread your kneecaps apart. Do this 4 more times at the cadence and the pace of your own breath. And after about 6 full iterations, come back up to stack joints, float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. Inhale, sweep your arms up over your head. Exhale, release your right hand down by your right hip, left hand on the outside of your right thigh. Inhale to lengthen along your spine. Exhale, rotate your heart to the right, your hips to the left. Just like we did on the other side, each time you inhale is a nice opportunity to lengthen the spine. I don't know that there's any harm that can come from more lengthening. And each exhale is an opportunity to go deeper in the twist. Now, twisting, we can certainly twist too much. So be gentle. Show your body some love and care this morning. Inhale. Exhale. Release out of the twist. Bring your right hand down to the mat. in line with your right thigh. Hook the webbing between your left thumb and left index finger into your left hip crease. Fold over your right thigh first. On an inhale with relaxed arms, open your heart up to the left. Exhale, fold over your right thigh. Press your left hand back into that left hip crease. Drag the heel of your right hand back towards your right knee. Inhale, relax your arms, open your heart up to the left. Exhale, fold, engage, spread the knees apart. 4 more times. Good job, friends. Come to a pause after 6, an apparent pause. Lift yourself up, find stacked joints. And from this stable position, from here, roll over your crossed ankles. Come into a tabletop shape, maybe with your shoulders floating over your wrists, maybe your wrists forward, but float your hips over your knees. We're going to do a little cat rolling. On an inhale, drop your belly down toward the earth. Open your heart forward. Drag the heels of your hands back toward your knees. Exhale, press into your hands and shins, round through your shoulders. Maybe release your chin to your chest. Inhale, drop your belly, open your heart, maybe tuck your toes. Exhale, round through your shoulders. 4 more times. After 6 full rounds, come into a neutral spine position. Shift your left knee closer to the center of your mat. Lengthen your right leg long behind you. Press through the heel of your right foot. Lengthen the toes down toward the earth. And then as soon as you're stable, reach your left arm forward, thumb reaching for the stars, pinky reaching for the earth. Keep the back of your head buoyant. Find full length from the tips of your fingers on your left hand to your right heel. Inhale right here. Exhale, draw your left elbow to your right knee under your body. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, find length. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen out. Exhale, elbow to knee. And then lengthen out. Find full length between the tips of the fingers in your left hand and your right heel. And then you can release your left hand and your right knee down to the earth. Right knee right away, maybe going to closer to the center of your mat. Lengthen your left arm, left leg long behind you. Closed hip again, toes face down toward the earth. Reach your right hand forward. Lots of length. Tuck your belly button in towards your spine. Turn your core on. Inhale. Exhale, right elbow to left knee. Inhale, find length. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale, lengthen out. Exhale, elbow to knee. Inhale for length. Exhale for union. Inhale, lengthen out. Find lots and lots of length. Create even more space between the tips of your fingers of your right hand and your left heel. And then release your right hand, your left knee down to the earth. Knees can come back to hip distance apart. Set your hands up, shoulder width apart with your index fingers pointing at 12 o'clock. Press all 10 knuckles down into the earth, and then on an inhale, tuck your toes under your feet. Exhale, press your hips up and back. Find the first down dog of your practice. And right away, go into whatever small movements will warm your lower body. So for me this morning, that's going to feel like windshield wipering the knees. Relax your neck right away. And then come into stillness with your lower body. Press down into your index knuckle and thumb. Draw your elbows another half to 3/4 of an inch closer to your mat, and then tweeze them together as if you were squeezing a beach ball between them. Relax your neck. Good. On an inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, take as many steps as you need to come up to the top edge of your mat in Ragdoll, Uttanasana, with enough of a bend in your knees that your whole belly will rest on your thighs. Shift more weight into the balls of your feet, light in the heels. Relax your neck. Maybe release your knuckles down toward the earth. Maybe grab opposite elbows. You could interlace your fingers at the base of your skull or behind your lower back, whatever your body calls for this morning. Release your fingers down toward the earth. Heel toe your feet together. Shift the weight into your heels. 70% of the weight in the heels, 30% in the balls of the feet. Inhale, halfway lift. Find a long, straight spine. Your hands might be on your shins. They might be on your thighs. The knees might be very bent. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, press down into your feet. Sweep your arms up over your head. Exhale, slice your hands down into heart center. Inhale, reach your arms up over your head. Maybe lift your gaze, look at your hands. Exhale, hinge into a forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into a high plank. Maybe releasing your knees down to the earth. Press down into all 10 knuckles, especially index knuckle and thumb. Back of your head is buoyant, in line with the back of your heart. Draw your belly button towards your spine. And then on an exhale, lower your heart down to the earth. Slide your hands forward. Find Sphinx pose. Put your shoulders over your elbows. Lengthen your legs long. Press the shoelace parts of your feet down into the earth, enough that your knees lift. Drag your elbows back towards your waist, as if you could, as like you were trying to drag yourself forward. At the same time, soften your belly. Inhale. Exhale. Release your heart down to the earth. Bring your hands down by your waist, palms face down. And then on an inhale, draw your belly button towards your sternum. Lift your thighs, lift your heart. A gentle locust, not your highest locust. It's early in the practice for this. Nice and gentle. Press your pubic bone down into the earth more. Gaze is directly under your head. Inhale. Exhale, lower down to the mat. Bring your hands under your shoulders. Press up and back into downward facing dog. On an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, walk or step to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, rise. Come all the way up to standing. Exhale, draw your hands into heart center. Inhale, reach your fingertips up toward the stars. Maybe lift your gaze again. Maybe start with a teeny back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step into a high plank, knees up or down. Inhale right here. Exhale, lower down to your belly. Maybe go back into Sphinx or maybe easy Cobra. Open your heart. Exhale, lower down to the earth, hands down by your waist. Lengthen your legs long first. Inhale, draw your belly button towards your sternum. Exhale, press your pubic bone down into the earth. Lift up into locust. Inhale. Exhale, downward facing dog. On an inhale, bend your knees. Look forward. Exhale, walk or step to the top edge of your mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, root to rise. Come up to standing. Exhale, slice your hands down into heart center. Inhale, reach your fingertips up toward the stars. Maybe take a deeper back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, lower down to your belly. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, locust. Maybe a little bit higher now, or maybe just the same. There was nothing wrong with what you were doing before. Inhale right here. Exhale, downward facing dog. From your down dog, draw a deep, life-affirming breath. Hold it at the top. And then open your mouth, let it go with a ha sound. On an inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, walk, step, or float to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into chair pose, Utkatasana, long spine, tailbone to the crown of your head. Could be your hands on your thighs. Could be your back up against the wall. Hands at heart center. Or fingertips reaching for the stars, biceps framing your ears. But shift the weight, regardless of where you're at, shift the weight into your heels. Maybe all 10 toes lift. Draw your belly button towards your sternum more. And press the bones of your arms closer toward the back edge of your mat. Yep, looks good, friends. So you are already doing it. There's nothing wrong with where you are. You can stay right here, inhale. Or exhale, lower your seat 2 to 3 inches closer to the earth. Yep, good adjustments. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. Great job. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, step back into high plank. Inhale, rock forward on your toes. Float your shoulders over your wrists. Back of your head is buoyant. Inhale right here. Exhale, knees up or down. Come halfway down, chaturanga. Inhale, open your heart. I'm going to choose up dog, but you can do any heart opener of your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. On an inhale, lift your right heel up toward the heavens. Exhale, step your right leg forward. Maybe replace your right hand with your right foot. Rise into warrior one. Left toes maybe pointing at 8 to 10 o'clock. Bring your hands to your hip points. Square your hips or your shoulders toward the top edge of your mat. And then options for your hands on your front thigh, heart center, or fingertips reach for the stars, biceps frame your ears. Check in, notice, are you holding muscular engagement in your jaw, in your shoulders, in the flesh around your eyes, in the way that you don't need to maintain this pose? Press down into all 4 corners of your right foot and the pinky edge blade of your left foot. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth, step back into high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, any low plank, knees up or down. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your left heel up toward the heavens. Exhale, step forward into warrior one. Feel free to take that right foot out wide. Feet can be super far apart here. Any arm variation of your choice. But engage the legs. Press down even more into the pinky edge blade of your right foot in all four corners of your left foot. Notice if your toes are gripping though. If you're gripping the mat for dear life with the toes, see if you can gently lift them and then release them back down toward your mat. Inhale. Exhale, release your hands down to the earth, step back into high plank, and you can either press directly into down dog, or you can flow through a vinyasa, going from a high plank to a low plank, any heart opener, and then we'll eventually all meet in down dog. On an inhale, bend your knees, look forward. Exhale, move to the top edge of your mat. Inhale for a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, sit back into chair pose. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, high plank. Inhale in high plank. Exhale, low plank. Inhale, open your heart. Exhale, downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your right heel up toward the heavens. Exhale, step your right leg forward. Rise into warrior one. One breath. Inhale as you rise, press down into your feet. Exhale, come back down into a high plank. And either directly into down dog or flow through a vinyasa. That is your choice. Both ways are right. Either path to down dog is right. Inhale, lift your left heel up toward the stars. Exhale, step it forward. Rise into warrior one on an inhale. Exhale, high plank. And then you chart your own course into downward facing dog. Drawing a deep, life-affirming inhale through your nose. And then open your mouth, let it go with a ha sound. On an inhale, sweep your right heel up toward the stars. Exhale, step your right foot forward, tap your left knee down, maybe pat up under that left knee. And then I'd like you to stack the joints, put your head over your shoulders, over your hips, right hand on your right thigh, left hand on top of your right. Inhale, engage your left glute. Exhale, release your hips forward toward that right heel. Inhale, lift back up, stack the joints, put your head over your shoulders, over your hips. Exhale, release your hips forward. Inhale, lift back up, stack the joints. Exhale, release forward and hold. This time, interlace your fingers, place them on your right thigh, just behind, just above the right knee. Engage your left glute. Use your tweezed hands to squeeze that right thigh and press your kneecap forward toward the top edge of your mat. Breathe. You guys stay right where you are. I'm just going to change sides for demonstration purposes. On your next inhale, lift back up the stacked joints. Release your hands. Take your left hand down to the mat or to a block. Right hand on your right thigh. Inhale, lengthen from your tailbone to the crown of your head. Exhale, press into your right hand. Open your heart up to the right. Inhale, release 30% of the way out of this twist. Exhale, re-engage, open your heart up to the right. Do this 4 more times. After about 6 full iterations, come back into stillness. If you have a block under your left hand, remove the block. Release your left hand down to the mat 2 or 3 inches in front of your left shoulder. And then we're going to step the whole right leg back into a modified side plank. Notice how I just pivoted, I swiveled that left heel back behind me. Maybe right hand starts on your hip. Maybe lift the fingers of your right hand up toward the stars. Press the back of your heart back behind you. Cant the toes on your right foot down toward the earth. And you can either stay right here or on an inhale with the toes canted down toward the earth, lift your right heel up toward the stars. Yep, looks really good, friends. Inhale right here. Exhale, release your right hand, right knee down to the earth, modified high plank. Exhale, modified low plank. Inhale, any heart opener of your choice. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good job. On an inhale, lift your left heel up toward the stars. Exhale, step your left foot forward. Tap your right knee down. Again, take the time to pat up under that right knee if that brings you comfort. Stack the joints, float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. Engage your right glute on an inhale. Exhale, release your hips forward toward that left heel. Maybe left hand on your left thigh, right hand on top of left. Inhale, lift up, stack the joints. Exhale, release. Inhale, rise. Exhale, release and hold. Engage your right glute more. Interlace the fingers of each hand and then grip your left thigh just above the knee. Engage your right glute more. Use your tweezed hands around that left thigh to traction your left knee any amount forward toward the top edge of your mat. Inhale, lift yourself up, release your hands. Exhale, release your right hand down to the mat or to a block, left hand on your left thigh. Inhale, lengthen from your tailbone to the crown of your head. Exhale, press into your left hand, open your heart up to the left. Inhale, release 30% of the way out of this twist. Exhale, re-engage, press into your left hand. Start to approach straightening your left arm. And then 4 more times at the cadence and the pace of your own breath. So we're trying to focus our attention on the anatomy associated with root chakra. But I also find when I have low back pain, in my home practice, I have 3 or 4 basic movements that I use to bring myself some comfort. And this is one of my go-tos right here. After 6 full iterations, come back into center, release your right hand down to the mat, but go 2 to 3 inches in front of your right shoulder. Step that whole lift hip back as you pivot, swivel that right heel back behind you. Maybe left hand on your left hip, press the back of your heart toward the side edge of your mat. Maybe float the fingers of your left hand up toward the heavens. All right, you're already doing it. You could stay right here. Or cant the toes on your left foot down to face the earth, and you could stay right here. Or with the toes canted down toward the earth, on an inhale, lift your left heel up toward the heavens. Inhale. Exhale, release your left hand, left knee down to the earth. Modified high plank. Modified low plank. Any heart opener of your choice. And then on an exhale, make your way into downward facing dog. Inhale right here in down dog. Exhale, tap your knees down to the earth. And I'd like you to make your way into any resting shape. If you want, only if it serves and supports your needs, you can take a moment before you come into your resting shape and just lay a blanket down on your mat. But then otherwise, your resting shape could be any position that feels healing. Could be in your seat, your belly, your back, or your side. That ujjayi breath that served you so well. If you chose to maintain it now, it wouldn't hurt a thing, and you no longer need it. You don't need it anymore. So feel free to let that go. All right, friends. During this transition, use really good body mechanics. But I'd like you to make your way into a standing position. And we're going to go back and forth between two sets each of dangling, which is a forward fold, and a squat. So I'm going to have, during the squat, I'm going to have a bolster under my heels. That might be useful. You could have a block under your seat. You could also have your back up against the wall. But take your feet to start, hip distance apart, make the shape of the number 11 with your feet. And then start to fold forward at the hips, resting your belly on your thighs. Your hands could come down to blocks. Your fingertips could rest on the earth. I like more weight in the balls of the feet than the heels, like a 70-30 load with 70% of the weight in the balls of your feet. You could grab opposite elbows. In all the options that we talked about for ragdoll with the arms, those are all options here, so find those. But keep checking in with your neck. This a very human tendency here for us to shift the gaze forward, and especially in a class like this, a Zoom or recorded format class, like you're trying to see the device, but see if you can just trust your innate sense of your body and release the need to see and just feel. All right, so feel for a relaxed neck. Feel too for weight in the balls of your feet and some lightness in the heels. So each chakra has an associated right. And the right that's associated with root chakra is to have and to be, which sounds really fundamental because it is fundamental. But how many people do you know? And for me, it's most people, and certainly includes myself, that have this sort of constant existential crisis. And we never feel like we're quite enough. All right, so we're going to start to come out of this. So maybe hands on shins and thighs, walk yourself up. Now, again, any squat could be a block under your seat. I'd like your heels resting on something. I really don't want your heels lifted. Back could be against the wall, but the common factor is feet hip distance apart, toes turned out about 12 degrees, and then sit your hips back. And rather than like whereas in vinyasa, we would have the elbows pressing on the inside of the inner thighs pressing into elbows. Instead, release your fingertips forward, down toward the earth, release your chin to your chest. Right, so I talk a lot about our stories, these looping stories that we play in our head, that for whatever reason we told ourselves a story about ourselves, or somebody in our life at some point said it, and we let it stick, right? We chose to identify with it. And they're so easy to hear in the language of other people, that whatever version of I'm not enough, sometimes it's tough for us to hear them in our own. And like what I'm learning in my life is the importance of the way that we talk to ourselves, right? And we can say it's just words when we make a mistake, and then we tell ourselves that we're stupid or we're an idiot or we never get it right or nothing we do is ever enough. But those words really are impactful. And if we're not cautious, they can create a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So that sounds a little bit doom and gloom. But the positive side of that is once we started to learn, and we don't have to have it nailed, but we started to learn our patterns of stories and know what comes up for us when things get difficult, it's a habit to start to substitute in the new stories. And it's a really good habit. It's a really healing habit. So I'll tell you one of my new stories. It's really embarrassing to say out loud, but it's been pretty powerful for me. So when we move back into dangling, I'll tell you this new story that's coming up, and it seems to be coming up organically for me, which is pretty huge. All right, friends, we're going to shift out of this first squat. So press down into your feet, lift yourself up, and you can, if you like, come directly into that dangling shape, that forward fold, but change the shape of your feet to the number 11. So your toes are pointing forward to 12 o'clock. I like, again, your whole belly resting in your thighs. That might mean a very, very deep bend in your knees. That's okay. Any arm variation of your choice. So I had to really work at this for a long time. But sometimes it comes up when I'm doing something really great, like when I'm doing something that worked out perfectly. But it also is starting to come up for me at times where I make a mistake or something is less than the perfected version that I had in my mind. And the self talk, I'm trying to transform it into you are doing great. You are doing great, which is true. It's true for me. It's true for you guys too, friends. And the fact that we're making mistakes doesn't mean we're not doing great. It means we're human. So if we can make a mistake and still look ourselves in the eyes and say, I'm doing great, I think that really falls into line with our allowing ourselves to have and to be. There's a root chakra affirmation that I really love that says, like a tree or a star, I have a right to be here. And regardless of how what you think our purpose is or how we got there, if this is the act of some manner of divinity or it's just a massive coincidence, right? Regardless of what that is, why would a tree or a star have more of a right to be here than you or I? All right, start to walk yourself back up. Again, maybe hands on your legs. Come out of this gently. Change the angle of your feet. Toes angled out at about 12 o'clock. And again, I'd like your heels on the earth or on some kind of support. Could be a blanket, could be a bolster, could be support under your seat, could be your back up against the wall, but then sit back into your squat. Right? I feel like sometimes we think because we're making mistakes that we're not doing it right. So there's this story about Thomas Edison, right? And he had this idea for this invention. It's called a light bulb. And they were working on this invention and they felt like they had this vacuum tube that seemed to be working really well for them. They had this electrical current was working really well for them. The electrical current they didn't invent, but this was just the manner in which they were going to power it. But the piece that wasn't coming together was the filament. So they kept trying all these materials, and then the filament either wouldn't burn at all or it would burn too hot and it would explode the vacuum tube. So they tried all these materials and they get an explosion or they get crickets. And so they tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed. And eventually, Thomas Edison's foreman came to him. He was exasperated, and he threw the plans down on Edison's desk and said, "This is ridiculous. This is a fool's errand. We have tried and failed 1,000 times." And Thomas Edison is said to have looked his foreman in the eyes and said, "Nonsense. We found 1,000 ways in which this does not work." All right, friends, I'd like you to shift out of this squat. So I'm just going to come forward onto the knees. I'm going to have you come down onto your belly into a sphinx pose with a block at the highest height in between your wrists. Float your shoulders over your elbows. Lengthen your legs long first, then relax everything from your tailbone down to the tips of your toes. Ankles roll to the inside of the outside, that's fine. Release your forehead down, that's fine. Maybe flip your palms up toward the stars. Notice where you're holding on. Like probably, for me, it's button belly most of the time, right? Relax your glutes, soften your belly, relax your heart down toward the earth. We found 1,000 ways in which it does not work, right? It's a totally different way of looking at failure, right? But failure is a critical component to success. I rolled the dice on myself a while back, and I put everything that I had into a small business that didn't work. It succeeded in some ways. It didn't make money. Is that a failure, or did I just like I found a way it didn't work? Brene Brown says successful people have between 5 and 7 stories of failure behind them. Like successful business owners open 5 to 7 businesses before they find a way that it works. Right. So what happens when we can shift our perspective from success or failure to experimentation, observation, and learning? And I feel like if we can do that, then we can make a mistake and still look ourselves in the eyes and tell you in the mirror and say, "I'm doing great. I'm doing great." And be right. As just a personal note, the other observation I've made is that like I think it's really skillful for us to be cautious in the manner of which we decide whether we succeeded or failed. Right. In the case of my business, I learned a lot. I learned a ton. I had a blast, and I feel like I really helped some people. I'm doing great. So are you. All right, friends. Lift your forehead up from your block. Slide the block out of the way. Lower your heart down to the earth and draw your hands under your shoulders. Press up onto your knees. And we're going to come into dragonfly. So let me show you a couple of options. And if you know what you want for dragonfly, that's fine. From a seated position, again, a block or a bolster under your seat is 100% fair game. You can take your feet out nice and wide. And then fold forward any amount. So for some of you, your heart or your forehead will come all the way down to the earth. That's great. That's wonderful. That's not my experience in my body. That's okay. Either way, we're doing great. Another option, and it's my preferred go-to for dragonfly, bring your seat up against the wall. Come onto your back. Drop the ankles out to the side. We still got all this opening in the hip AD adductors. but lots and lots of support for the back. So either version of this is right. Either version of this is correct and doing it right. We're doing great. So the main message that I hope that I conveyed in the talk today is like this: the way that we talk to ourselves, the language that we use is really important. It's really important, and it's skillful to pay attention to the stories that come up over and over again. And listen for different versions of I am not enough, which might look like I'm too fat, I'm too skinny, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too strong, I'm not strong enough, never quite enough. And once you've identified your pattern, try to find some substitute stories. This is part of what my Ayurveda teacher, Kate Stillman, would call identity evolution, right? And it doesn't have to be complex. I'm doing great, for me, is a wonderful change over some of the other stories I've told myself in the past. Right? Check in with your body, notice your current level of sensation. And if you've opened up some space and your body wants more, if you're on your seat, you could do a couple different things. You could take your ankles out wider, you could lower your head and your heart further forward. And I should have mentioned, you can have, if you're on your seat, you could also have a bolster under your heart or across your thighs. You could have your elbows on your inner thighs and use your hands on your face to support yourself. And if you've got your legs up against the wall and your body wants more sensation, mine does not particularly. I'm at like a 7 on a scale from 0 to 10 right now. But you could slide your heels further apart, closer down toward the earth. But if you're in that range, whatever your shape looks like, if you're in that range of sensation from 4 to 6, or you're at a different level of sensation that's intentional, you're doing great, right? No need to change anything. All right, friends, we're going to start our transition to our final resting shape. So if you're on your seat and you're folded forward, lift up, stack the joints first, float your head over your shoulders, over your hips. And then for everybody, if you would, place your hands behind your thighs, just above the knees. Start to use your hand to draw your heels closer in towards your seat, maybe closer into center. If you're up against the wall, maybe roll off to the side first. And then from there, friends, make your way into any final resting shape. Could be on your seat, your belly, your back, your side, could be legs up against the wall, might be supported by your props, and it might not. Friends, before you change anything, check in with the organism of your body to see what your body needs from you this morning. And if what your body needs is more rest, as always, there's no need to change a thing. You could close out your practice exactly where you are, ignoring every other cue. Or if the organism of your body is ready for movement, start to initiate that movement by drawing some deeper breaths. My challenge for you for this week, once you've started to recognize the patterns of some of your stories, and you've come up with a couple of good substitutes, I would like you to consider taking a dry erase marker and writing one of these new stories on your bathroom mirror. So it's the first thing you see when you get up in the morning and the last thing you see before you go to bed at night. Maybe it's, I'm doing great, or maybe it's something else. Or maybe start to reanimate your body with small movements. Maybe that looks like wiggling your fingers or your toes, or something with your neck, maybe drawing your chin from shoulder to shoulder. And then no rush at all, but if your body wants even more, maybe start to add some medium-sized movement, rotating your hands at the wrist, your feet at the ankles. And then you can start to make the transition from medium to large movements. Maybe that's a full body stretch. Maybe if you're on your back, it's putting a bend in your knees with the soles of your feet on the earth and then dropping your knees off from side to side, windshield wipering your knees. But eventually make your way into either side in a fetal position. Take 3 or 4 breaths here. Just check in, notice how you're feeling. And then press yourself up into any seated position with any soft eyes and do anything that you like with your hands. Thanks, friends, for trusting me once again to guide you through your practice. You're doing great. Draw your thumbs to the space between your eyebrows if you move to do so. Blessings to you and your family. And that concludes our practice for today. Great job, friend. Again, I'm Chris. I'm from Transformation Nation Yoga and Wellness. Thank you for joining us for Chakra Yoga. Thank you for trusting me to guide you through your practice. If this practice added value to your life, if this is something that you enjoyed and appreciated, one thing that you can do to help get the word out, you can like the practice, subscribe to Transformation Nation Yoga on YouTube. Feel free to comment any kind of feedback about how I could make this experience better for you. I'd be very open to. But also feel free, if you've got a friend that you think could benefit from this practice, share this practice with them. You're doing great in your practice. Keep going.